All right, hey folks. So today I'm going to explain the 4 biggest mistakes I see all the time. So I've been in commercial gyms for about 3 decades. There was a brief period of about 7 years where I trained mostly at my home gym, which I still have. But the rest of the time, I've always trained at a commercial gym, many different gyms in many different cities, different countries that I've lived in. So I've been thinking about this, and I was asked a question in my coaching group recently about what are some of the most common mistakes that I've seen. So I thought about it and I thought, well, over the last 3 decades, these are consistently the more common mistakes that I see. And some of these are hot topics at the moment, but rest assured, these trends and these cycles, they repeat themselves over the years. And I see different people from different generations making the same mistake right now as they were 30 years ago. So today I want to speak about timeless mistakes that people have made, are making, and no doubt will continue to make over the course of at least my lifetime. So first one is endless fluff exercises. Whether it's 2025 and you're listening to Mike Israel, or whether it's 1995 and you're listening to Sean Ray or Flex Wheeler or whoever else, people will do random isolation exercises with no clear purpose. I sometimes see people just doing endless bits of fluff on cable crossovers or other like cute little minor variations, no real progression, just fluff. And if you were at the gym for the same period of time, you can see it. These guys will come in, they'll do the same routine, look like they're half asleep. A year later, they look the same. 5 years later, they look the same. 10 years later, they look the same. And in some cases, the sad thing is 25, 30 years later, they'll still look the same. But there you go. Second thing I would say is no structured plan. This probably isn't an issue with guys who watch YouTube. I think guys who watch YouTube, in my videos particularly, you guys are showing some kind of interest in routine design, or at least the particulars, dare I say, the science of lifting. So more than likely, you guys who are watching this are probably not just going to be winging it, but there are still a large percentage of people at regular gyms who do just wing it, go in and just train. And that's fine. Listen, if that's what they want, but ultimately, if you're wanting results, at a certain point, you have to be that little bit more focused on your plan. Next thing I would say is excessive rest and distractions. People taking very long phone breaks or just socializing. I mean, I was at the gym the other week and I was looking to do some cable pushdowns. So I went over, machine looked completely empty, nothing around it, no one there. And as soon as I went over, this young lady came up and said to me, hey, I was using that. Now, bear in mind, I'd scoped this machine out for a few minutes while I was finishing up on the previous exercise. So I knew that nobody had touched this machine for at least 5 minutes. So I was like, okay, no problem, no worries, I'll move over. So I went and moved over. She went back off again. She went back off and started to do something in front of the mirror. I think she was taking some kind of selfie or whatever she was doing. Came back another 5 minutes later. Well, that was the level of intensity that this young lady was working out at. Just taking 10 minutes between sessions, on her phone, on her camera. God knows what she was intending on doing. But there you go. I think it's very normal to talk in the gym. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying don't talk at all. Like, by all means, sometimes it's nice to have a bit more of a social session, but some people, they barely do one set every 10 minutes. And that's not an exaggeration because I see it. Next thing is too many jug sets. I mean, this is another classic, which again is not something which is exclusive to this generation at all. We had these people back in the 90s who just didn't train hard. Some of them use science to explain why they didn't train hard. But for people who are naturally just lazy, they're always going to find an excuse, whether that's science-based or anecdotal, whatever it is. But fact of the matter is, your excuses don't build muscle. Right, so having gone through some common errors, 4 common mistakes which are timeless, let me just talk a bit about what to do instead. So a big one is, I think, particularly if you are genetically average and you're time limited, which most of us are, I'm going to say I am as well, focus on heavy compound lifts for the majority of your work because they deliver the biggest bang for your buck. Add in your isolation exercises strategically. Add them in for muscles which need extra attention without overworking like joints or other areas which are getting heavily taxed by compound lifts. You know, for example, a common example, if you're a very tricep dominant lifter, you're going to need a smaller or zero amount of actual direct tricep work. So that is how you would strategically add in maybe more bicep work, but less tricep work overall. And that is part of individualizing your routine. So rely heavily on compounds, they will give you the best bang for your buck, but add into isolations strategically. Always bear in mind what I say about fractional sets. Your heavy compound work, which is supposed to bias a larger muscle group like the chest or shoulders, will always give secondary work to other areas in the body which are involved in the exercise. Now, how effective that secondary work is for the smaller muscles will generally be affected by your exercise performance and your build. Like again, I get a lot of triceps from chest pressing and overhead pressing. But equally speaking, I also work with guys who get a ton of shoulders. I have one guy in the books right now. His bench press is almost the same as his incline bench, which is almost the same as his overhead press. So apart from the actual leverage and a range of motion, his shoulders demonstrate great strength in all those exercises, and his chest, not so much. A lot of that is genetics. So for him, supplementary work for the shoulders, maybe not that necessary because he's getting big regardless. Supplementary work for the chest and the triceps, probably quite useful. So that's the first solution. Prioritize compounds, use smart isolation work as and when you need as an individual. Second thing is to plan and track. So use a structured app or a program to log your workout sets and reps. Now, I'll tell you this, back in 2002, when I was trying to figure stuff out for me, I actually emailed Dan John, the legendary Dan John, who was and still is a huge coach out in America. Great guy. I specifically remember as a kid, I was 19, 20 years old, he messaged me back within 3 hours and he gave me some of the best advice. And he essentially said, some of your best learning will come from your own training log. And he asked me to look for some trends, which I did, and it was extremely helpful. And I say the same for you. Use your log as one of your best training tools. And I personally recommend Bootcamp. It's super user-friendly for tracking progress and ensuring you stick to a proven routine. You can use my code Fazlifts for a free 2 weeks when you sign up. And I also have 3 free routines on there, as well as 1 paid routine, which is a very special one. So do support my work, get on Bootcamp, use the code Fazlifts for that first 2 weeks of premium, and go ahead and check out my programs on that. So avoid guesswork, use a proven routine, preferably one by a real coach with a proven track record. Right, next point is keep your sessions time bound. I personally aim for no more than about 75 minutes, okay? If you can't get your main lifts done within that window, you're likely doing some fluff, okay? Or you're not being efficient with rest. Yeah, I personally feel everyone can get a fantastic workout in about 75 minutes, either 3 days a week, 4 days a week, 5 days a week, whatever is your preference. Yeah. Resist the urge just to add in random things at the end. Finish with a strong, clear plan. If you want to add in extra stuff, do your cardio or go home and prep your food, right? There are other things to work on which are going to give you more bang for your buck than just more and more of the same. And the final thing in terms of suggestions is use a proper rest interval. I personally feel like 2 or 3 minutes is a good amount of rest time between compound lifts. It's the perfect compromise between resting enough to allow muscles and cardiovascular system to recover, but also not resting too much or too little, which is important. So I think about 2 minutes for isolations and about 3 for compounds. I do recommend timing because your cardiovascular system is not always the best indicator of when you should go next. I personally have a great cardiovascular system. I do cardio 5 days a week. I can go like this. So my recovery is superb between sets. But there's no point going when my breath has calmed down. My muscles might not be recovered yet. So I've known that from experience. I can probably go after 30 seconds to a minute, even after some hard sets, but my muscles need longer to recover. So timing allows you to see trends and spot patterns over time, and you can then standardize that like you do with everything else. So to give you a realistic example of the schedule, let's talk about upper-lower split, 4 days a week. Upper, what would be realistic is bench press, 3 sets, row, 3 sets, overhead press, 3 sets, and maybe some weighted chins, 3 sets, and some optional arm work. That is a realistic setup, which would give you about 15 or so sets over the course of the session. That is plenty. For lower body, could be squats for 3 sets, RDLs for 3, maybe some single leg work like a single leg press or lunge or Bulgarian split squat, some calf work and some ab work, again, about 15 sets. So those are workable examples. And you can whittle that down to 9 or 12 as well if you do less set per exercise, maybe 2. So with the rest intervals of 2 or 3 minutes for compounds, 2 minutes for isolations. You can get all that done in 75 minutes and have a productive workout. The only compromise is you've got to work hard. That's it. The only trick is you've got to work hard. You've got to make each set count. If you can do that, that's a great way to go. Right, guys. So in conclusion, common mistakes I see: fluff exercises, no plan, distractions, and junk sets. Focus on compound lifts, use isolation exercises sparingly and intelligently, track your workouts, keep sessions to around an hour or so. Apart from that, think happy thoughts, do productive things, and be a good person in life. All right, guys, take care. Have a great rest of your week, and I'll speak to you in the next one.